I do believe that the success in life is not in the title, it's in the actual what you're getting out of what you're doing.
Leadership, service, breaking barriers. Today's guest embodies all three. Welcome to Common Denominator, where we uncover the universal truths that connect us all. I'm your host, Moshe Popak. On January 7, 2025, Rosie Cordero-Stutz made history as the first woman and the first Hispanic woman ever elected sheriff of Miami-Dade County, starting back in 1996 when she joined the Miami-Dade Police Department and rose through the ranks, and eventually commanding some of the largest and most complex divisions in the county. But Rosie's story begins long before the badge. Beyond Miami, she's shaping policy on a national stage, a responsibility especially critical to communities like ours. Today, we'll talk about her journey, her vision for public safety, and how she hopes to inspire the next generation of women and minority leaders.
We're blessed to be and have what we have today. Life is not easy. You have to work hard and you have to do things the right way. When you speak words from your heart, when you take actions from your heart in the best interest as you're moving things forward, then you're going to be successful.
Hi, Sheriff Rosie, and welcome to Common Denominator.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
So first of all, I want to just say congratulations. First sheriff of Miami-Dade County since, a little over 60 years. So big deal. And but I want to go back to your roots because we share similar roots.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up and
Sure.
and come to this point?
So I was born in the Dominican Republic. My parents were already living in New York at the time, but my mom was bedridden with me. So she went back to Dominican to be with her mom, right? And so I was born in the Dominican Republic and came to the United States at the age of 2 months for the first time. We lived in Washington Heights in New York City, which is very much an immigrant community for the Dominican Republic. And I lived there to my high school years, where we moved to Flushing, Queens. And then I went to college in upstate New York. My mom was one of 13 children. Wow. And she was a single mom raising me and my sister in New York City. Now, I was very blessed. Although my parents were divorced, my dad was a part of my life, right? And so we would spend, a lot of time with him and in the summers. And sometime in my high school years, my dad moved to Miami Beach. And so I started spending every summer in Miami Beach. And that's basically when, fast 4 years later, I graduate college and I'm trying to get a job in law enforcement. And it's kind of tough, right? I decided I'm moving to my other home, which was Miami-Dade County.
The early 90s, right, down here in Miami. Right, you're from the Dominican Republic,
Yeah.
female. What was that environment? You said it was tough. I mean, you're obviously today you're a role model for many Hispanic women and women in general. What was that like back then? And also, why did you decide to go into law enforcement?
My mom says I was about 5 years old the first time I told her I wanted to be a police officer. So I know there was definitely a calling from within. But I will tell you that seeing my mom, right? My mom worked so hard to give us a good home, a roof over our heads, food on the table, right? Loving, supportive, faith, right? She sponsored her siblings. She was the first one to come to the United States, and she sponsored all of her siblings to bring them from the Dominican Republic and immigrate into this country. And each one of them lived in our home at some point, right? So I saw that. I saw the importance of family, the importance of supporting your community. The way we grew up, like my mom didn't speak good English, and so we often stepped in to help her, right? My sister and I, or whether it was a neighbor who came in with a letter that they just received and they couldn't read it, and we would translate it for them. These were the little things that I think affected me as a child to say that my heart was in service. When I always felt my best when I was helping someone else. And I think that definitely had a lot to do with my decision to go into law enforcement. We lived in a tough neighborhood, right? The cops were always around, and there was
in Washington Heights, like back in the day. Because I remember I spent time in those years living there as well in Washington Heights.
There was a lot of crime, a lot of violent crime, and drugs, and pretty much, the SWAT team would come and serve a warrant every now and then. And, if the truck was coming down the road, get out of their way. But even though they were doing a tough job and it was a tough neighborhood, we always had a good relationship with our police officers. You always knew there was a cop on the corner that you could run to if you needed help, and they were there. They supported my vision of, I want to help somebody, and law enforcement is a calling to me. It was always a calling to me.
Yeah, so it's interesting, that experience of seeing, people, because here's your mom, single mom, right? And you and your sister, it's like this kind of safety, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and serve the community. But I think, I remember, right, people down here in Miami, we were talking a little bit about this before the show, the Pablo Escobar, Cocaine Cowboys.
Yeah.
I mean, that must have been a crazy time in the 90s.
It really was. So I got on the job in 1996 down here in South Florida, and I immediately, when I'm in patrol, my first assignment was in Northside District, which is a pretty busy, area. I was exposed to immediately this kind of crime and violence, and for me, I was serving the community that I grew up in. It's just New York versus South Florida, right? So I knew the importance of anyone who picked up the phone and called 911 when you responded. It's you need to serve that community. It was so important, right? It was a lot of crime, a lot of homicides, a lot of shootings back then. And one of the things that happened for me, right, professionally, was I always knew I wanted to do investigations, right? Because you go to school, you get your degrees, and I'm going to be an investigator. I want to go to become a homicide investigator. But when I went to patrol, I was amazed at how much I loved that job. I loved getting in my patrol car every day, going from call to call, because that's what we did. It was that busy. But when you left that scene, you helped someone, right? You either helped someone in need, you helped someone because there was a situation that was above and beyond their control, or you helped someone go to jail because that's what needed to happen in that moment. But I felt fulfilled in being able to positively impact that community.
Every human has different experiences with fear. What are the things, what's the anchor, right? Today, the amount of weight that's on your shoulders, and you're just one person, and then when you're originally going into the service, what do you do to kind of calm your mind and deal with just fears of the unknown and things that are going to happen?
So for me personally, I think that a reasonable amount of fear is important and natural, and we all have it. If you don't have it, you need to ask yourself, there's something wrong there. However, I believe you have to act, and in that action and having a good foundation for that action, whatever you decide to do will be right. So for me, I'm very, faith-based. I believe in God, and I think that I sometimes will just literally take a breath and say, God, give me the knowledge that I need right now to make a good decision. And for me, that is everything, right? I've often said, for me, I can't imagine not having that faith, because how much unknowns are there in the world today? And no one is all knowing. We're human, right? We have our limitations, and no one is perfect. So, but I believe that if you do things from your very best heart, when you speak words from your heart, when you take actions from your heart in the best interest as you're moving things forward, and for each of us, we all have our expertise, mine is law enforcement, then you're going to be successful.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's a very important lesson. And I've seen that, right? It's not the absence of fear. Fear, like you said, if they don't have fear, you're like, this is strange. In spite of the fear, your heart's racing, things are happening. But like you said, you take action, decisive action to the best of your ability.
Yeah, I think there's nothing worse that we could do is when you see something that is wrong, and you do nothing about it, knowing that something should be done. I think that's probably the worst situation.
What would you say in your career, what's the thing that every once in a while will pop in your mind, a story or a situation that really sticks out in your mind, kind of like still kind of stays with you?
So when I was a homicide detective, unfortunately, we were called to a body of an infant that was found, and it was a newborn that had been dumped through an incinerator and into a dumpster. Yeah. Very, very hard.
Yeah.
And basically no chance. There are so many things, opportunities that could have been done, right, for that infant, but they never had a chance. And that will always stay with me. That will always stay with me because it was just so unnecessary. It was just unnecessary.
Yeah. We just had the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And, obviously, unfortunately, the country and even the world, I think, is polarized. It's just completely split. But what really sat with me is the interviews in New York City and in different places. And they're going person by person. And people's response was like, oh, he deserved that. I try to make sense in my mind, like where in people's mind is it okay? A guy who was just giving opinions, he wasn't violent, right? It was saying what he was saying and then completely assassinating. No due process. We have a constitution, 2 little babies. And then I wonder, are you seeing on the ground, being in law enforcement, is this kind of where a big part of our population is as far as mental health, or because it's hard to reconcile them? Like, it shocked my consciousness.
I know. I think your last words are exactly correct. This has shocked our collective consciousness as a country. And we have to ask ourselves, I believe that the only right thing to do is to ask yourself, how could we have gotten to this point where that's okay? It's not okay. It is absolutely not okay. And I don't care what the words were, right? Whether you agree, whether you disagree, once we start to accept that behavior, you start to lose a little of our own souls, and we cannot allow that to happen. I mean, if we want to look back in history and you remember Martin Luther King speaking to this, right? That you can't, violence cannot be the answer. Once we bring that into, then we've lost ourselves. And collectively, I think that's a dangerous place to be. I worry about our youth. I don't want to say like, oh, you blame one thing or another. People say it's social media has had this effect on people, or the technology, that where our youth has lost a lot of that one-on-one interaction. I don't think it's one thing. I think it's a lot of things. But ultimately, more than anything, I think it's not being responsible for your own words. We've somehow allowed it to be okay to say whatever you want to say with no repercussions. And I think that is at the core.
Because I've always believed humans are born perfect, all of us. They go through life. This is just the way my framework, and certain traumas, certain things happen, or indoctrinations, or certain, and we slip. Yeah. We slip and look at the things that end up happening. I know that that's happening a lot throughout the world. Yeah. Slowly getting rid of God. I don't even talk about like organized religion, but because we come here in this world, every single human, and we leave, and nobody knows anything. Yeah. What are we doing here? It's a statistical anomaly that we're here in this world. And if people just took a step back, like, okay, you want to call it God, you want to call it a higher being, you want to do something, that surrender.
Yes.
I think that's the highest level. And I think in that, it gives you the power to act. But tell us a little bit about like the amount of people and what you're responsible for. Sure. and the budgets and kind of today as sheriff.
Yes, so I am the sheriff of Miami-Dade County, which is the largest county in the state of Florida. We have 3,200 sworn deputies under my command, and with the professional civilian staff, about 4,800 individuals. So I've been in this profession for 29 years with the same department that was my predecessor, right? Miami-Dade Police Department. And in 2018, the state of Florida voted to return an elected sheriff to this county of Miami-Dade. And fast forward, that is how I'm in the position that I'm in today. So I'm homegrown, right? I have been serving this community since 1996. And I've seen it go from 500-600 murders a year down to, double digits. So that is huge for me. I've seen the things that have been successful to get us there. But I'll tell you what scared me the most when the entire thing about a sheriff happened was, what if it's the wrong person who becomes sheriff? What if it is someone who is more attracted to the position than the job? See, this is the most important job. I mean, I'm biased when it comes to safety in this county. And I didn't give my blood, sweat, and tears for 28 years to allow someone not to take it with that kind of a responsibility on their shoulders. It matters. Everything that we say and we do when it comes to safety matters. Without safety, there is no community. There's no economic, growth. There are no new people coming into a place that they don't feel safe in. I want every family in Dade County to be able to walk out of their home and walk down the street to the ice cream parlor and enjoy themselves and not worry about those things. And if they never hear or see, then we've done our job. So that's why I decided to run. It was that important to me.
Right, like that scene in Wizard of Oz when you see like the wizard behind the curtain, and when your eyes open of good people, most of the time they're just like, just leave me alone. And the people with the power and trying to manipulate and control, they have their moral compass is off. Let's put it that way. I kind of just see like the emotion coming from you, how important it is, and it takes a lot of courage to go ahead and say, in spite of this is important. This is my purpose. This is my meaning. Yeah. You don't see that so often. So I want to, on behalf of myself, my family, also say thank you for that. That's hard. And I also know you have a role in FEMA. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was named to be on the FEMA Review Council by President Trump. This is the council that will be providing a report for the future of what this next support organization is going to look like, whether, for now we'll call it FEMA 2.0, right? But it's an important job because I get to speak to law enforcement when it comes to, crisis and natural disasters and our response. And there was a lot going on being named sheriff and then being named to that team. And I take it very seriously. Like, we know what this county went through with Hurricane Andrew back. And I came to this county to live permanently probably 8 months after Andrew. So I saw the devastation and I saw the months and all those things. And obviously in law enforcement years later, throughout my professional career, right, responding to hurricanes, being the department that went to help, Port St. Lucie when they were affected. That was probably in the early 2000s. And just as recent as a Surfside collapse, right, where FEMA also played a role, and the bridge collapse. These are real things that happen in our community. And for us to have a voice in law enforcement and what the future looks like I take it very seriously.
Yeah. Luckily, I guess this season, it's not over. We have another real 6 to 7 weeks, right? Knock on wood. I know us local Floridians. I know we have other guests throughout the world even, but I know they've changed a lot of code and things like that. But I wonder what things will look like if we did have something like Andrew again, right? And to deal with that. So that's
we work very hard and plan very hard and work cooperatively with so many different organizations and agencies, from the weather to get as much information as possible in the front end to, each other or locally, like not just the sheriff, but all the municipalities. And for those who may not know, that's the smaller city police departments, like City of Miami Beach or a City of Hialeah or City of Miami, right? So we all work together to help each other, to support, to prepare for, God forbid, if anything were to happen, we're ahead of it. But, we learn that through tough lessons. And I think that's a key piece, right? Yeah. We have had tough lessons that we've had to learn. And so my hope is that I'm able to share them and that can be used for future, that can be applied across this nation.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, because I happen to be dealing as one of the members on the host committee for the FIFA World Cup next summer.
Yes.
So someone explained it pretty well. It's basically, we have 7 games here. It's in different cities throughout North America, but we have 7 games.
Right here.
And soccer or football is huge.
Yes.
How are you guys preparing for that, right? 7 7 Super Bowls.
7 Super Bowls. So I'm going to answer that question,
Yeah.
but I want to even add to that. So it's not just World Cup that we have with 7 games. We've got the football championship game. We've got the Orange Bowl game. We have Formula One. We have World Cup that summer, World Baseball Classic. And we just were told
It's all
we're
the
going to
next
be
12
G20.
months.
Yes.
Oh, and the G20 at
And
the
the
end.
G20
That's
at the
right.
end to cap it. So,
Wow.
right.
Yeah.
That's
I just put that all together.
I
Wow.
want you to, that
Yes.
is amazing.
Yeah.
And how do we do it? We plan, we prepare, we train, we work with our partners, we at all levels, right? Local, state, federal partners. But it is in the constant training and practice that will help us to be prepared. We just came through World Club this summer, so that was also very helpful for us because it was where we looked at how we can continue to do things better. We had just come off of Copa, which wasn't good.
Learning.
And yeah.
Right.
How do you do it? You know, honestly, you must adapt and evolve every single day. We're going to do things different on game 7 than we did on game 1, than we did last summer. And we do that because you have to read the room. You have to see what's going on. And the ability to be flexible in that and have the leadership in place to be able to make that happen. See, because you can't be bogged down by the bureaucracy, right? You have to be able to adapt quickly and during difficult times. That's the best way that you can be successful.
That's what I tell my kids all the time. There is no failure, and it sounds cliche, but if you truly practice this, right? If you own your mistakes or whatever it
Yes.
is, and you stand front and center,
Yep.
that for sure. Sheriff, tell me, what's something, looking back at your career, your family, where you are today, and where we're gonna go in the future, what's something, as you really go within yourself, that you're deeply grateful for?
Deeply grateful for my family. So like I mentioned, my mom has now passed, but she worked sometimes 3 jobs to put 2 daughters through college. She had an 8th grade education. She worked to get her siblings to this country, who are now all successful citizens with children of their own that have grown up to be wonderful Americans. And we live throughout this entire country, impacting in a positive way. I'm so proud of that because in teaching that support of family, right, of doing the right things, didn't matter if you were a sanitation worker or you were a sheriff. You know, you do things the right way for the right reasons. And you do it with honor and respect for other people. And I'm so proud of that. And we continue to be a very connected family, even though we're spread across the country. That's one of the definite positives of social media, is to be able to stay connected in that way. I think we're an example of what everyone would call the American dream. And unfortunately, nowadays, you don't hear about the positive stories. You only hear about the negative stories. There's so many positive American dream stories of immigrants who came to this country and just wanted the opportunity, but you got to be able to work for it. It isn't given to you. You work for it. And I think for me, that's just an incredible part of my foundation. My husband is a retired canine officer. You know, we met on the job, and we've been married now for 19 years. We have a 16-year-old son. And we try very hard to instill upon that we're blessed to be and have what we have today, but nothing is easy. Life is not easy. You have to work hard, and you have to do things the right way.
What, I guess, last message would you leave for women? You know, I have 2 daughters, and they're gonna watch this. And for all the women out there, I mean, I'm thinking about, like, you know, I think it's over $1 billion budget too, right?
Yes,
so it's tremendous. And when I take that in, it's tremendous responsibility. Well, what message would you say for women to be strong and to forge ahead? What should be in their heart? What should be their passion and who they are?
So I would say to them, do what you love to do, whatever that is. I do believe that the success in life is not in the title. It's in the actual, what you're getting out of what you're doing. So, you know, and everybody has their own specialties and their own desires and their own wants. So do what makes you happy. Do what fills your bucket, right? It fills your soul. But don't be afraid, and don't let anyone tell you you can't. Unfortunately, this is I work in a very strong profession. I work in a male-dominated profession. But the one thing I always did was I didn't listen to that noise. Everyone has an opinion. Good for them, but keep it to yourself. I chose to always say, I'm going to do what I think is best for me and be true to myself. And I think that's where I found my success. So that would be my advice. Do what you want to do, what you love to do. And I know that, you say that, hear that, but it is really true because we all have to pay the bill somehow. So why not do it in a way that makes you happy?
Yeah, I really love that because another side to that if you're doing what makes you happy, because there's going to be ebb and flows, ups and downs, if you're doing what you're passionate about, it'll give you the fortitude to continue. If you're not filled, then you will not.
Absolutely.
This has really been tremendous, and I really, really appreciate it, Sheriff. Keep up the good work and the inspiration. It's really been great.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you
so
for
much.
having me.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. If you're enjoying Common Denominator, make sure to hit like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Leave a review and share the podcast with a friend for more stories that inspire, challenge, and connect us all. We appreciate you listening.